Nobody try? Okay, I'll give you a clue. Okay, think of something. Sichuan's old name. Wait a second. I don't think we can find a country. Shu. Okay. Do you remember this? Okay. Okay. That's not ye, huh? Okay. How do you write ye? How do you write ye? Okay. So what's the answer? In ancient time, this place is called Bashu, right? Ancient time. Okay, Guba. Okay, so in ancient time, Sichuan is also known as Ba or Shu. Okay? 林和根 okay, I don't think you can see, but let's try. Okay, can you tell me Taiwan in 1986 to 1988? Which one? Political development, 86 to 88. 86, I think we lifted the martial law, 80, and then we also have lifted the ban on, freedom of press. People were allowed to visit China. A party was allowed to form. No, it's not democratization. What is it? Wu Ping Kai. Li Mukun. Zhang Chunjun. Zhang Chunrui. Dong Yancheng. Liu Huiyu. Okay, which one? When we talk about freedom of press, freedom of assembly, number what is it? Liberalization. Okay, number 2. Okay, number 2. V. Liberalization. Why? Because liberalization means allowing people freedom to visit China, to move, to assemble, to organize political parties, and also to speak freely. You have freedom of press. So that's Taiwan, 86 to 88. Next one, Si Yifang. Okay. Nigeria in the 1960s. 7. What is 7? Decolonization. But Nigeria became independent in 1960. Nigeria became independent in 1960. Decolonization means I was still being colonized, right? I tried to become independent. Number 6, nation building. Okay, so it should be nation building because suddenly Nigeria is trying to figure out that, we are Nigerians. But people say, no, we don't even know we were Nigerian before. So nation building, you try to create a new people called Nigerian. Okay, that's 1960. Next one, Yang Lide, 叶家豪. Yeah. What about Ghana before 1957 and Nigeria before 1960? I already mentioned. Number 7, decolonization. Ghana became independent in 1957. Nigeria became independent in 1960. Okay, so that process leading to independence we call decolonization. Okay. In 1960, not just Nigeria, but some other 18 other countries also became independent in Africa. So people talk about 1960 as the year of African independence because most of them in West Africa and Central Africa became independent. Okay, next one. Luo Yu, Li Jingde.
Alternation of party and power.
Taiwan in 2000 to 2001. Okay, we have the election. And that's the period we have the alternation of party in power. Okay, next one, Chen Yongyuan. Zhu Junwei. Yeah, next one. South Korea, 72 to 79. Chile, 73 to 89. In South Korea, you actually have multi-party. It's not one party. One-party state means no opposition party at all. South Korea does have opposition party in the parliament. In 1972, South Korean President Park Chung-hee introduced a Yuxing Constitution. Oh, I love Yuxing. Yuxing is like this word in Chinese. Right? This is a 19th century word, don't you think? 明治维新, 百日维新. What happened? I think we mentioned last week about South Korea. And also Chile as well, from 73 to 89. Okay, we have eliminated. First of all, some of the answers we are not going to use. So do some elimination work, huh? 消去法. Okay, do you think will be civil war? South Korea fought a civil war for 7 years. Chile fought a civil war for 16 years. So what should be the answer? Well, we already have what? 4, right? Number 2, we have number 6, we have number 7, we have number 10. So 2, 6, 7, 10. No. So you have 1, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, or something. 9. Okay, authoritarianism, right? Park Chung-hee, the president of South Korea, before he was elected by popular vote. Now he introduced, putting all the power in himself. So authoritarian. Chile, after the military coup, they also have Pinochet was in charge. So that's the authoritarianism. 罗志远、曾一平、杨文婷. Next one. Brazil 64, Argentina 66, Peru 68, Chile 73, Indonesia 67, South Korea 79, Thailand 2006. Democratization. I think we mentioned the third wave of democratization arrived in the 1980s, right? So obviously those countries are not democracies, or were not democracies at that time. Democratization first in Spain and Portugal in mid-70s, and then Latin America in early 80s, and then mid-80s coming to Asia, late 80s to Eastern Europe, early 1990 to Africa. So it's not that word, okay? It's not democratization. Think of this. I only give you 1 year. So what thing might occur just like one shot? Military coup. Okay, so all these are military coup years. Okay. Brazil 64, and once they were in power, all the way to 85. Argentina 66 to 73, and then 75 to 83. Peru 68 to 80, Chile 73 to 89, Indonesia 67, almost all the way to 2000, and then South Korea 79 to 86. 87, Thailand still 206 to 208. Okay, 2 years of military. 刘书宏、刘玉兰、叶腾辉、翁颖之. Okay, next one. Taiwan in the early 1990s. Okay, democratization, because we are making all the political institutions become more responsive to people, right? Taiwan, we began to elect all the representative, like legislative yuan, 立法院, members of legislative yuan, members of the National Assembly, 国大代表. Also, we begin to directly elect the mayor of Taipei and Kaohsiung and the governor of Taiwan. I don't know whether you still remember, one time we had a governor of Taiwan. We still have one. Okay, James Song Tzu-yu was directly elected, and then in 1996 we have direct election of the president. Okay, so that's Taiwan. Li Qing-en. Okay. Nigeria in 66 to 69, Angola between 75 in 2002. In the early 60s, Nigeria said we have nation building. We are all Nigerians now. But some people say, no, we are still Igbos, we are still Yorubas, we are still Hausa Fulani, different kinds of people. What happened? Civil war. Okay, this is a Biafra war. B-I-A-F-R-A. And the military general, there was a military coup as well. The coup leader at the time was 31 years old, leading the country. Okay, think of this. In less than almost 10 years, you're going to be a leader of, Nigeria today. At that time, about 80 million, not a lot, 8,000万人. Okay, nowadays 1.3, 130 million. 现在是1亿3千万 ，OK， 把8000万人 31-year-old became the leader, okay, for about 9 years, and then he was overthrown in another military coup. I met him when I was in Nigeria in 2003. He was playing golf, he was doing fine, still looks strong, but hey, 31-year-old. People just pushing him to the front, saying you have to save the country because the country was involving, civil war and almost like genocide. So Nigeria in late 60s, had won. Uboson, Cuba since 59, North Korea since 1948. One-party state. Okay, finally we have 艾尔强, 邱冠群. Yeah, which one? Taiwan and South Korea in 2008. We have one left, right? Which one? Consolidation, but why? Why democratic consolidation for South Korea and Taiwan in 2008? Right? We mentioned, people said democratic consolidation can be measured, okay, by one parameters. Like what's the thing that happened? You said, oh, this democracy is consolidated. 这个民主被巩固了. One thing happened. Someone said, means, well, it is solid. It's consolidated now. What happened? A woman is elected? No. What is it? Change of president. Okay, so it's almost like alternation of party, right? But then we had in 2000. Why not being consolidated in 2000? Remember, used to be KMT president, and then the DPP president, and then, KMT in 2008 again. But if you said change of party in power, we had that in 2000. So why not being consolidated in 2000? Okay, we call second alternation, okay, of party in power. Just one time, it's not good enough. Okay, sometimes you have alternation of party in power, that one party being lost in a party in power for a long time, and then they lost the election, never came back. The new party became the one party. So when they said consolidated means you have this one party also being changed. replaced by another party. Can be the old party, can be a new party. But we call alternation of party in power twice. Two alternation of party in power. Then people said you may be consolidated. Okay? So this is, I don't want to use this, but it's almost like how are you being, survive in your relationship. Okay, almost like you're being dumped one time, but you also dump someone else. Does that make sense? Then, you say, wow, it's complete. I can go out. I'm mature enough now. I'm consolidated. 这样通不通？被人家甩一次，然后你也甩一次，这样你经验就很丰富了。民主也是一样。Okay, you won one, you lost one. Okay, so that's consolidated. Okay, this one, some of you got 100%, but some of you got 40%, 60%, all kinds of strange grades. Okay, any question on this one? Remember, this will be tested in the final. Okay, similar. Okay, not exactly the same. I would say 80% the same. Okay. Okay, let's go back to look at the economy. As I was reading this again, I was thinking about some of the things in the world. It's very similar to what we have in a country, don't you think? When we talk about core and periphery, we said, they are core countries and they are peripheral countries. But we also talk about the core within a country and the periphery within a country. So today in Taiwan, where is the core? Where is the periphery? Liao Yuqing, where is the core in Taiwan? No, I think it's Hsinchu. Hsinchu has the highest per capita income in Taiwan, which is not fair because Hsinchu people earn the most, yet the real estate market is cheap compared to Taipei. Hsinchu people, you have everything. You don't have typhoon, you don't have flooding, you have the higher income, you have the cheaper real estate. Gosh, this is so, and you have the best two universities in Taiwan. It's not so fair. It's not fair. Okay, so you're the core, or Taipei. Okay, fine. Taipei can be the core. Some of the urban center, or nowadays in Taiwan we have the what? The 5 special municipalities, right? 5都. Okay, so Tainan is also the core now, right? So that's fine. Su Houming. Then where is our periphery in Taiwan? Oh, Hsinchu County. So close, yet so far. No? Where? Where is the periphery in Taiwan? Taidong. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Taidong, I agree. Not just geographically, but also maybe economically. Okay. Where else is a periphery? Let's say in northern Taiwan. Li Yuxing. Can you think of a place in northern Taiwan that might be a periphery? Means the income, the standard of living is low. The environment might be polluted. Used to be in Taipei area, people would say, oh, 三重五股 not too well. But now it's actually getting better. But can you think of any place in Taoyuan that is considered periphery? How about 观音?桃园县观音乡. I'm sorry, there is a 观音乡. Okay, observing the music. I think 桃园县观音乡 is not too, but Taiwan is considered not too bad because we're so small. So the core and the difference between core and periphery is not that. But we do have Taitung. We do have few, remote areas, or some people would say some of the villages along the west coast of Yunlin or Jiayi, not well to do. So in Taiwan, we try to help the less fortunate. What happened to the core in the world, in the international relations? Do they have the responsibility to take care of the periphery as well? And think of this, is Hsinchu because you exploit the other parts of Taiwan. You're the core, and you became the core through exploitation of the periphery in Taiwan. Because you don't pay a lot of tax. You earn a lot, but you don't pay tax in Hsinchu. With all kinds of government subsidies of the high-tech industry. Shame on the high-tech industry. So exploitation. So think of that in the international level and then at the domestic level. So Western, for example, Western industrial capitalism, they would think when traditional society become modernized, when it is industrialized, when it is urbanized and educated. Okay, and we have too much education nowadays, right? And we are so urbanized. Used to be, if you ride on the train from Taipei to Kaohsiung, once you arrive in the Jiayi and Tainan area, just miles of rice paddies, rice field. Not anymore. How many of you will be able to ride 5 minutes of train with only seeing all the fields? 不太可能哦. It's so urbanized in Taiwan, right? Not like when I was in the United States, there are certain areas, there's still very agriculture. In Indiana or Ohio, for example, we drive, through the highway, and then you see corn, and then soybean. You know soybean? 大豆. And then soybean, and then corn, and then corn, and soybean. Okay, just corn and soybeans. Okay, 大豆玉米. But in Taiwan, it's all urbanized and industrialized. So there are some of the things. Last week we also talked about economic growth is the one indicator, but people said, for the dependency, people said, no, we want also redistribution of that growth. So it's not just high growth. Like people in Taiwan say, we have a good economy this year because our economy is back on positive. We have a positive growth, but people say export also growth. That's also only in the industrial sector, not in everyone. So we want redistribution of that growth, whether this is quantitative or qualitative. Okay, so people talk about a different kind of standard of living. It's not just measured by economic growth, but by the quality of life. Okay, and then GDP or HDI. Now, GDP is the economic indicator, but HDI more than that. What else? What other two indicators are there? Chen Zilin, what's the other two indicators in the HDI? Do you remember? Human Development Index. In addition to economic growth, we call purchasing power parity, PPP. what's the other two indicators? So that the picture is more complete. So if you want to look at society, in addition to say, oh, you know, the economic growth or economic per capita is important, what's the other indicators you want to look at? Human development. In addition to, okay, just economic one, what's the other two factors you want to take a look? Education. So Human Development Index, you have this we call education level, right? Literacy rate, or how many people are in the secondary school. So at least means that they can read. So that's also important. Literacy rate or educational attainment. So, and then we have the third one. Okay, it's there. 徐小鹏. Yeah. So we have educational attainment. We have purchasing power parity. What's the other one? Which I'm not sure it's a good thing nowadays. Huh? No, there. Right after GDP and HDI, what is it? Can you see? Life expectancy. What does that mean? No, life expectancy is not how you expect your life is, but how long you're going to live. Okay, so almost like average life. Okay, now what is average life in Taiwan? How long do people live in Taiwan? 72?
Yes.
You're guessing. Okay. I'm sorry, I have to tell you, you are too pessimistic or too optimistic. I don't know which one. Our women now live to 81. Yeah. Man 75, 76. Okay, 76. Okay, so you should marry someone 6 years older than you. 5 years older. No. But what I'm saying is this good or bad? Used to be good. Why? Because which means you don't have a lot of, disease. You have good health, nutrition, and everything. But people living too long, it's going to cost a lot to the society. It's going to drain all the resources. So I'm not sure this is good index anymore. Do you think it's a good one? You think, when you graduate, begin to work, and you have to take care of all these senior citizens, especially, I'm sorry, if your parents are elementary school teacher, forgive me. Okay, elementary school teacher retire at the age of 50. And they work how many years? 30 years maybe. Okay? From early 20, when they graduate. So they work about 30 years and then they live another 35 years. So they draw the salary longer than they actually work. Okay. Now, so is this good life expectancy? It's a good indicator. In Africa, for example, why it is so low? Why Africa life expectancy is low? What's the reason? Oh, the weather is too hot, right? No. Poverty? Okay, poverty might be. Well, what else? What's the other reason for Africa to have a lower life expectancy? Food, okay, so maybe nutrition. We call malnutrition, right? M-A-L, malnutrition. 营养不良. Okay, so, and what else? War, okay, conflict, war, people got killed early. That's also true. And what else? All those diseases, right? Like malaria, and what else? The one that really hurt, HIV/AIDS, right? So all those are, reducing the life expectancy in Africa. So that just tells you maybe I'm not sure it's a good thing to live that long, but at least that proves your society do have good medical services, good enough nutrition, good enough social services to take care of you. Also may not have a lot of war, right? So you can have this life expectancy. You have to think of life expectancy in Taiwan. If women is 80 years old, you have to exclude all those people who died. Young kids because of disease, or all those accidents which kill a lot of people. I think if we ban our motorcycle, maybe another 5 years, who knows, right? So very long. So this is life expectancy, and then this is how we look at the Human Development Index, and the chapters show you, some of the countries are doing well, even though they are not earning a lot. A country called Cuba, for example, 四川 right? 四川现在改名叫古巴。Okay, Cuba, per capita income is not high, but Cuba has good education, very good education, so everybody can read. Now, why would Cuba have such a good education? 温维忠，请评价。Okay, 吴东林 ，Why? Why Cuba has a good education? So communist government like to give better education? That's true, but why? Why communist government would provide better education?
People do how they think.
Yeah, well, because they want to use the word we call indoctrination. Indoctrinate. They want to instill all their teaching to you. If you cannot read, how can they instill all those teaching? 他们要这叫什么？灌输思想，洗脑。Okay. Brainwash. But hey, you have to be able to read to be brainwashed. Okay. So that's why they want you to read, so you can learn the Mao's Little Red Book. 毛语录 right? People have to be able to read, to follow instruction. So Cuba has a high level of education, and Cuba also provides good services. I met Cuban doctors, went to Africa to help. Okay. So Cuba export doctors to the third world, to help. So life expectancy in Cuba is not bad. Those two factors put together, Cuba has a very high level of HDI than a lot of countries. So don't just look at the economic growth. Okay, you have to look at the other factors as well. So this is how we define, I think, development. What is development? Is development just economic growth? People said no, more than that. You have to look at the redistribution of the growth. So whether the society is we call egalitarian or not. Equals, not equal, egalitarian. Okay. I think it's this, but does this make sense to you? 均平. It is 平, 均平, 平. Different from this one is 平. No, the same pronunciation? 平平. No. I think this one is G, right? This one is N. This one is NG. No good. Right? Okay, so try to pronounce like 均平. 均平. Okay, so but that's this one, egalitarian. Okay, means equally, equally distributed, but not exactly the same, but just relatively equal distribution. Okay, of income. So people are talking about you want quantitative or qualitative, right? You cannot just look at GDP. That's not just development, because if Taiwan suddenly we found out that underneath or around Taiwan's coastal area we have a huge reserve of petroleum. So we're just sitting here, we found that the richest petroleum reserve ever found is outside Taiwan's east coast. So we don't have to do anything, we just export the petroleum, right? We can per capita income will be very high, but is that the only thing you look at? Okay, life expectancy, like Russia. One time people said Russia was doing fine, and then, hey, white people are, the life expectancy usually is increased, don't you think? Every society should be increased. Africa, we have 8, so they come down. Russia also came down. What happened? A lot of people got drunk and suicidal. Okay? So suddenly which means that society is not good, right? If so many people which one is good? You can get drunk. That's good or bad? That's good. No? You are in that zone. You enjoy yourself. That would be a good society. A society that is so sober. You have to face the reality that's so harsh. I'm not sure, okay? But so life expectancy is one. Education, which is becoming a big problem right now. Purchasing power parity means how much money you earn, how much you can purchase. That's more important, right, than the others. Not just you have a high per capita income. High per capita income if the local price is very high. That means nothing. Recently, by the way, in China, have you heard one interesting phenomenon? I mean, you would never think this would happen to China. What happened in Guangdong and in southern China? Taiwan businessmen couldn't find workers. Have you heard of that? Oh, why? Why? I mean, China, I thought people in China, we used to say, oh, they're just like locusts. Waves and waves of people, never exhausted. 中国人不是太多，像蝗虫一样，不会觉得。怎么会广东会少了工人呢？不够，找不到工人。Why? Okay, because Guangdong's wages up or not up. If it's up, then everybody want to work, don't you think?
I mean, they're supposed to get higher wages.
Yeah, but right now they're trying. Okay, used to be in Guangdong they're paying $1,500 per month, 人民币. How much is Taiwanese dollar? 7000块，差不多是吧？1500是多少？4点几。Somewhere, okay. About now, you cannot find worker if you pay $1,500. You have to pay at least $1,800, okay, to get workers. Now, the workers are not going to Guangdong, to Guangzhou, Dongguan, Shenzhen to work. Why? Because they can earn probably $1,200 in countryside, in their hometown. The cost of living in the countryside is much lower than in Guangzhou. So why would they go to Guangzhou, like most of the earning most of the money you earn have to pay the rent, which is much expensive, and then you cannot go home until maybe once a year. And some people, I asked my students who work in China, they said some of the workers will go home, especially if they got married, have kids, they cannot afford. So they can only go home every 3 years. Okay. Now, if this become more expensive, people will say, why don't I work at home, in my hometown? I can get, the same kind of standard of living, but closer to my family, to my folks. So cost of living adjustment is very important. So PPP really doesn't mean, if you earn a lot, you say, well, you earn more than me in Taiwan, in the United States. If you work in Manhattan, you think of the cost of New York City. So what? You have to make at least twice my salary. But that's not even having a better standard of living than me in Taiwan. Right? So you have to make sure the money you earn, the things you can get from that money, and you compare that, Taiwan is very good. Our living standard is almost like Canadians in terms of purchasing power. Okay? But not anymore in Taipei, I think. Now I just want to change my apartment street sign. I live in Taipei with a street that is not very good, but I open a door from my back, yard, and that door can go directly to Ren'ai-Lu. So I want to change my street sign to Ren'ai-Lu, which I can sell my apartment much more, right? But the government would not allow me to do that. I said, I can see Ren'ai-Lu from this little alley here. 我就在我家后院开了一个门，面对仁爱路，好窄一条巷子，看得到仁爱路，算不算仁爱路的巷子？因为这样子我换一个招牌，我房子就可以多值好多钱。Okay, but they won't allow me to do it. Okay, you always have to challenge the government. There's some apartment they just want to like 乐业街 in Taipei, which is not. But you can change your street sign to 敦化南路. So that's good. So, everybody want to move to that streets. Okay, sustainability. Is the development sustainable? Okay, can you continue this kind of economic development? So that's also a very important one. Let's take a break here, and then we will look at the debt trap, which is very similar to what we have in Taiwan, right? We have a lot of, we call what? Slaves of the plastics. 塑胶奴，什么意思？卡奴 ，OK， 因为你在美国你去买东西，人家问你 cash or plastics，so debt 欠债 debt trap，OK， not develop and sometimes you need help. So a lot of countries are trying to help the third world countries by loaning the money to them, okay? And then you are expecting, okay, if you're a bank in Taiwan, why would you loan people and expecting that they will not pay back? Wang Yuhong? Yeah, okay, when you loan money, right? Have you ever loaned money to your friend? Okay, now did he pay back? Yeah? Okay, so why would you loan money to your friend? You think he will pay back? Or even though he is not going to pay back, but he live in a mansion, 豪宅, so his parents will be able to pay back. Or, something. So, but why would you loan money to a poor country? They borrow money. They said, we're going to make money and then pay back the debt. Why would you loan money? Diplomatic? Oh, you thinking business people have a heart? I never realized, this is new to me. Business people actually have a heart. This is diplomatic. They want to do good things. Okay, so next time, can you show us? You go to the bank, local bank, say, hey, I'm just a student here at Tsinghua, right? I want to borrow money to buy a big mansion here. They said, wow, you're going to graduate from Tsinghua, and maybe you're the next Guo Taiming, so I loan money to you. Maybe that would be the case. But usually, they loan the money because they think the high interest rate they can earn over the times, and eventually, if the country cannot pay back, your own country can force them to put up some, we call collateral, diaping, right? Or, your country will help you to get that money by getting some of their resources. So most of the third world countries, if you are poor, you try to borrow money. You think by borrowing money, then you can industrialize, you can modernize, and then you will make money out of that borrowing, so you can pay back. But the more you borrow, the more you are involved in this. Because what happened? Because you have a lot of, we call debt service. What do we mean by debt service? You borrow money, you owe someone, you have to service the debt. Means what? In Taiwan, what do we mean? You are having a credit card, and you say, hey, I have a card, charge, right? 中文叫什么？刷是吧？还有啊，是刷吗？还有就叫刷啊。OK， 是刷卡吗？只有这个，只有 OK， charge. So, you said I need to buy a product, right? Something. So you charge, and then how are you going to maintain? Then next time you want to borrow again. People say, wait a second, you haven't paid me anything. How can I trust that you're going to pay back? So what do? You have to at least pay every month the interest, right? Or minimum payment they have. Sometimes just paying the interest, not the principal. Okay, not the principal, but just paying the interest. We call service the debt. Maintaining that debt. Sometimes, in order to make sure that you're a good borrower, you have to keep paying interest. We call service debt. Okay, so as long as you have the ability to service the debt, that will be fine. But gradually, some country cannot. Okay, now. Indebted industrialization, the case is South Korea and Mexico. Both are saying we do not have enough money, but we know we will be able to make it. We want to industrialize our country. So they have this borrowing and then indebted industrialization. In Taiwan, we also have the tank construction. We don't have a lot of the capital, we have to borrow. So this is possible. Once you make it, you have the good infrastructure, the economy improve, you will be able to earn a lot, then you can pay back. Okay, now, let's say a third world country, I borrow a lot of money from a rich bank in the north. How am I going to pay back? 徐正奇有在吗? Okay, how do you pay back the money? Okay, for example, let's say I am from Haiti, right? We just suffer a lot, so we want to borrow money to reconstruct the economy. The American loaned Haiti money, and Haiti said, okay, we can pay you back with our Haitian currency. do you think Americans would take the Haitian currency? Just like me, I have some Zimbabwean currency. $1 million. But anyone wants the Zimbabwean currency? No? But so how can Haitian pay back the US dollar they borrow? How do they pay back? First of all, how do you get the US dollar? Print it. 找李连杰来帮忙，他们 some kind of fake money. You can print. Sometimes some third world country print American currency. I know that, but where do you get the American dollar to pay back? Trade. Okay. So which means you have to export, right? You export a lot, and then people will buy you and pay you US dollar. You put that in a, we call reserve. And then that reserve, when you want to buy something, you cannot use your own currency to buy. So you will use the foreign reserve, the foreign currency, especially the American dollar, US dollar, to buy other things. So in other words, like Taiwan, why do we have this foreign reserve? We have this, one time the highest. Right now, I think it was the third highest foreign reserve because we export a lot. Most of our export will go to, and people will pay us US dollar. And then we ourselves, the business people, will change that into the Taiwanese currency. So you leave a lot of, our bank has a lot of current foreign reserve there. And then when we want to buy something, the importers from Taiwan, we will pay the US dollar, and you go through that. So the more we export, the more US dollar we will accumulate. China is #1 right now, so because of China exporting a lot. So that's about, if you have a good export, if you have a good balance of payment, that will be fine. But if the poor country, they don't export, they cannot compete, how are you going to expect them to pay back? Okay, so that's a big problem. And more, term of trade. What is term of trade? This is a very important idea. Qiu Wanchen, what is term of trade? Terms of trade. 贸易的条件。But what does that mean? Means the things you produce and you sell in the international market, it has a good price. It's not going to be flexible, up and down. It's going to be very good in terms of your exchange with other goods, because it's not something can be replaced easily. Or that would be, which means the product you have in the market is when you trade with other countries, you have a better term. Okay, let me use an example here. If you're producing banana, okay, you're selling to the international market, and you decide, hey, I think my banana's price is too low. I said I want to sell a higher price. Can you do it? Why not? First of all, I think banana is we call perishable, 会坏的可以有几天，一般香蕉。Even if you try to do some pre-work. I think it will not last very long. And in addition to Taiwan, where else do you grow banana? Oh, I think Philippines also grow banana, right? Central America, Chile, Ecuador, all those countries grow banana. So you have a lot of bananas in the international market. Okay, and in Taiwan, I think the cost of growing banana is becoming more expensive, don't you think? So banana is not a good trade commodity for Taiwan anymore because the term of trade is not in our favor. Okay. Now, what would be something that is in our favor? Means we can produce something more efficiently. There is a great demand in the market, and we have very few competitors. So that means we have a very good term of trade. So what is that? IC products. Don't you think Korea is also really strong? I think the best item for Taiwan, make a guess. What do you think is the best item for Taiwan? That is having the best term of trade. Well, I think it's a high mountain tea. 高山茶, huh? Or what else? Which cannot be replaceable. I mean, like even if we have trade with China, open our market, China tried to grow the same kind of tea. I'm sorry, the humidity, the elevation, and everything, just unique to Taiwan. So we have a good tea. So that's a good term of trade for us. Okay, ICS right now it is. Okay, for some of the oil-producing country, oil for a long time, having a pretty good term of trade. But suddenly, when you have so many countries also producing oil, and then everybody is trying to sell a little bit more, so the price cannot go up. Okay, and one time we have this OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Country, and they make a good deal, saying, we want to get a better trade, better term of trade, and they did. The oil price went up. Then suddenly, Latin American countries said, the Americans are so addicted to coffee. Why don't we raise the price of coffee as well? Maybe some people can, so the coffee price went up, but Americans began to drink tea. Okay, so it's not. So you have to think of the term of trade. Is that product replaceable? Do you have alternative? Can it be, competitive in the international market? Obviously, agriculture. If you're major exporters of agriculture products, you don't have a very good term of trade. You have to export so many bananas to exchange for a laptop, right? So that's not good terms of trade. So third world countries do not have very good term of trade. And then you expect them to export a lot to have this foreign reserve surplus. Remember surplus,多的, so you can pay the debt. Very difficult. Okay, so the more debt you accumulate, then you say, hey, I think in Taiwan we found a lot of young people just basically say, so what? 老子不付了, right? I'm bankrupt. What can you do? 要钱没有，要命一条, right? Do you understand this? 要钱没有. If you want money, I don't have money. If you want my life, hey, I have my life here. Took it, take it, right? So that's how, some of the third world countries decided to say no, not paying any debt. So what do? If the third world country just say we are not capable of paying debt, okay. The first world, the bank said, why don't we renegotiate? Similar to our car payment in Taiwan, don't you think? 台湾现在有好像帮 帮信用卡什么卡奴重新调整啊，还什么 consolidate， 哦 I love that， 把几个卡一起集中一下 ，right？ So renegotiation of debt， saying, oh, well, you know, the interest rate can be reduced. We don't know that we cannot exploit you that much. Okay, so the interest rate will be lower. Okay, that's one way of doing. Or rescheduling. Oh, you have problem of paying this much every month. Why don't we pay you? Why don't you try every 2 months? But they will get something out of your salary, for example. You know, certain percentage of your salary will go to. So the same thing with, like number 4, fixed proportion of export earning to service that. You know, you export. Okay, so this banana, 40% of the banana earning will have to pay debt. Almost like what you do right now in Taiwan. If you are a slave of the credit card, you almost want to say, I don't really want to pay, but I am having a regular job, but they have put a tab on my job, on my paycheck, so I cannot escape. You almost want to work underground. I can get real cash without having, you know, a real salary, right? So you don't have to pay back. But the bank is very good in tailing you, 追踪你, right? Make sure, you know, all your salaries will have to pay service the debt. So fixed proportion of export earning, or they said you really cannot pay right now. Unilateral, we call moratorium, means temporary stopping payment. Okay, until one day you can do it. Okay. Now, China in Africa, what they did is they look at some country. They said, we know you cannot pay back. So your debt have been forgiven. Okay, that's what China did, forgiving the debts. Okay. How many of you in Taiwan have been forgiven debt? 你们都不是卡奴，我知道。But do you have 卡奴 friends that their debt have been forgiven? You know, the bank said, oh, you know, you changed. Oh, you are in NTHU right now. I want you to concentrate on your study. So you don't want to work in 7-Eleven to pay back the debt. Your debt is forgiven. 台湾有这么好的银行吗？有没有？没有。Okay, so it's very rare to find third world country banks with forgiving third world debts. And they will say, the reason why you cannot pay back your debt is because your economy is in a mess. So I'll help you. I'll put the house in order. I hate that one. Have you heard of something like you know, if you want to borrow some money from your friends or, you know, from your sisters or from your, especially sister. I don't know why brother always borrow money from the sister. And then the sister will say, okay, why don't you just hand me your paycheck every month? I will help you to manage your money so you can pay back the debt. So it's almost like putting house in order. So they offer this SAPS, Structural Adjustment Program, saying the reason you cannot pay back because you have problem with your economy, and we will help you to pay back. So what is this structural adjustment? Look at some of the things they ask you to do. They said, hey, first of all, why trade barriers? You understand trade barriers? Trade barrier is almost like you don't open your market for other countries' product to come in, right? You have we call tariff, 关税, or you have oh, I love this one. Yesterday, they would discuss whether INART, I-N-N-A-R-T, I think that's the word, right? Yesterday, about Taiwan's beef import. People said, is beef tongue an INART? 牛舌头是不是内脏? Okay, but I don't know. Our legislator were discussing, debating, shouting each other. Okay, now trade barrier. Taiwan, we set up trade barrier. And the American can accuse Taiwan saying, hey, you have trade barriers. That's why your dairy industry, dairy, you know dairy industry, 中文叫什么？畜牧业的 dairy industry is not competitive. So you have to remove the barrier. Okay. So you have to expose your locally produced product to foreign competition, which is reasonable in appearance, right? You're saying if you don't expose local products to foreign competition, then people are not going to make the best product. They are not going to be internationally competitive. But if you do expose to foreign competition, I'm sorry, sometimes the whole industry will be wiped out. Like Japan, for a long time, would not expose its domestic market, we call rice market, to foreign competition. Now, Americans said, well, you have to open up the market. We want to export rice. You're rice-eating people in Japan, right? The Japanese, you know, the land is very limited. It's very expensive. So producing rice is about 3 or 4 times more expensive than in the United States. But if you open the market for the American rice, and if every Japanese is choosing the American rice, because it's 1/3 of the price, then the Japanese rice farmer or industry will collapse. So what did Japanese do? Japanese say, you know, your rice is not the same kind of rice we eat in Japan. You know, we eat long rice, short rice. Your rice is just a little bit too long. The moisture in your rice is not the same. So they try to find, we call, barrier, not just tariff, but other reasons. Sometimes the people using sanitary reasons. 所以你们的水好像有点污染，加州 right? So I cannot trust the Californian rice. Try to block the American rice out. So is the structural adjustment program trying to make the local product more competitive, or just trying to open the door for industrial countries to flood the market? So that's one. The second one, poor countries sometimes, including Taiwan, we have subsidies in local prices and services. What is the biggest subsidies in Taiwan? 台湾政府津贴什么最多? Which is, I mean, we are not paying the cost of having that service. Which one? Okay, how about bus system? I don't think. Do you think the bus system will work? I mean, sometimes when I came here on Fago bus, right? Today, I think 5 passengers, that's fine. One day, just me. Okay, that's my special bus. My personal caravan, 大篷车从台北一个人带我一个人来。Now, I think I'm not sure about Fago, but I know local bus government subsidize 有津贴吧？Especially if the bus is from 五峰乡 we have a from 新竹 okay, from some remote area. So that would be subsidies. Price control. What do we have price control in Taiwan? Which one? I think gasoline we do, right? But what other subsidies do we have? I think water is being subsidized. Electricity is being subsidized. What else being subsidized? Gas? I'm not sure about gas. How about rice? Is rice subsidized? I think the farmers have been subsidized. So what they ask you saying, remove those subsidies. So that would be difficult. And the reason removing subsidies means if they don't have subsidies, they cannot compete with the foreign imports. but that's what they said. Subsidies, because you receive subsidies, you don't improve in your service or productivity. For example, water, right? Because the government, does not, we call subsidize the water company. The water company will not, they can make money, so they will not improve their quality or supply. The same thing with other services. So the third one they ask you to do, saying the financial system have to be restructured, and so no control on capital movements, which means open up your financial market easily, like in Taiwan, for example, in the we call late 80s, we open up. Suddenly we have so many different banks now. We have so many foreign banks. One of my student from this university, she graduated from this university and worked in a Swiss bank. Okay. Before, we don't have all those foreign banks, like Swiss bank, Netherlands bank. What else in Taiwan? All those strange banks, and then some of the local banks. So we have a lot of capitals coming in. And fourth one, this is important. They said you cannot have state-owned enterprises anymore. Okay, they have to be privatized. Third world country, why? Okay, of course we can understand state-owned enterprises. 中文是什么？国营企业。OK。为什么我们在台湾要念国营企业，然后到了大陆要念国营企业？ Okay. The same word, right? Okay, but you understand, they call SOE, okay, state-owned enterprises. Of course, some of the politicians put their relatives, friends in the, in the SOEs, right? In state-owned enterprises. And state-owned enterprises, because of the jobs are guaranteed, they are not working very hard. What do we call iron rice ball? 铁饭碗。现在用铁饭碗。Oh, you're so environmental. 用铁饭碗，好环保哦。Right? But if you privatize them, how many people in Taiwan, once they heard like 中华电信 or something, they said, "Oh, 民营化." People protest. Why? Why people protest? No, I mean workers. They will lose their job sometimes, if they don't perform well. But they will always say no because so and so we are not in one group. So privatize, making them more competitive. But you have to think of this. If it's privatized, what will happen? The capitalists are going to be very ruthless. Everything is based on profit. So a lot of workers will lose their job. So for the third world country, or for some people from the left wing of ideology, they will think, hey, we need the state-owned enterprises. Because if everyone is privatized, what will happen? They might use some kind of techniques to drive the other business out, and then they will monopolize, they will raise the price, like you said, because once they monopolize, they can raise the price. But at least if it's government-owned, you still have that. So private foreign investment is encouraged, so they can compete. In Taiwan, so far, we don't have any private foreign gas company in Taiwan. Do we want that? For example, do we want an Exxon here? Do we want a BP? BP, British Petroleum. Do we want that sign? That means we open, our market there. Right now we have only two, right? two oil company. One is 中国石油, 中油. The other is Formosa Plastic. Should we open more? Do you think it will become cheaper that way? I'm not sure. Okay, but this is how people are trying to open up the market, making you sounds very good, right? But finally, they said the state intervention, government intervention in the economy should be gradually reduced or minimized. Even the provision of social services. Okay? In other words, the IMF or World Bank, they want to loan you money. They give you conditions, or we call conditionality, saying you need to do this, you need to follow this. And all these are basically market driven. They don't want government to play an important role in the economy. They want government hands off. Okay? Which the big question is, are they trying to come in and exploit all those markets? Or are they trying to make those countries having a healthy economy? Okay, so you have to think about this. It's almost like in Taiwan, we go to the periphery, right? We ask them to do certain things. They're saying, you need to do this in order to become competitive. For example, certain industry have certain rituals. Let's put it this way: certain industry have a good retirement package before. Retirement package, you understand? 退休金. So that's why people want to go to work for a certain company or bank, government-owned, state-owned enterprises. And then people say, oh, this costs you a lot, so we are not going to have this at all. So then suddenly people realize this company is not going to be very loyal to me, so I'm not going to be very loyal to the company. So that is not going to help the company. So you want to remove certain things to make the company more competitive, but maybe you are wrong. So this is their conditions. This is where we call it conditionalities here. That word, conditionality. You want to borrow money? Fine. You need to earn. You need to do certain things. Okay. In Taiwan, I have never gone to the bank to borrow money myself. It's always been by invitation, right? I told you before, being a university professor, everybody wants to loan me money. Say, hey, Professor Yan, can I pay you a visit? I said, what? We have some real low interest rate. I said, but I don't need to borrow. But, you're the most ideal customer. We want you to borrow. Okay? So, and we never realized it's, you never borrowed before in Taiwan, it's good, right? In the United States, it's bad. When I wanted, for the first time, when I wanted to borrow money in the United States, they said, you don't have a record of borrowing. So how do we know you can pay back? I said, I don't have the need. That's the reason I never borrow. But they said, you need to establish a pattern of borrowing, the ability to service your debt and pay back. Then people can trust you. So next time, if you ever go to study, you want to, even if you can pay cash to buy a car, don't do it. Okay? You just have to pay, almost like you establish your credit by paying all those extra interest for the next year, so that people say, oh, we can trust so and so. Americans never understand that Asians don't borrow money. One time I was asked, they said, how can all these Koreans do business without going to the bank to borrow? Why? 很多新的移民韩国人，IRS 美国的个国税局在调查说他们哪来的钱，是不是有毒品 ？No, they just have what we call in Taiwan 会。10 people borrow, loan you money, and then and you can do it. And in America they don't have that. If you want to borrow, you go to the bank. So that's why they have this debt service, which is difficult for third world country if the economy is not good. And people say, why the third world in the 70s and 80s and even today continue to have this increase in debt? One reason is we call petrodollar. Okay, dollar is US dollar, but petrodollar means banks getting more money because of the petrol, the OPEC company. You know, they make a lot of money from the oil, so we call the petrodollar, and they want to loan you. Okay. Now, again, your professor has always have a strange feeling. I said, hey, I'm going to sit there, and what happened if we all boycott, not borrowing any money from the bank? The bank will back us to borrow, don't you think? Like in Taiwan right now, Youju post office, they reject all this deposit from huge, if you have huge deposit, they don't want to pay you. They don't want your money, because if you put money in the bank or in the post office, what do? They have to pay you interest, right? So they pay you, let's say 1% interest, and then they loan people 3% interest. The difference they make is how they operate. But what happens if people don't borrow money? So they almost have to. It's like if I'm a poor country, third world country, I will unite all the poor country in the world, saying, let's boycott, not borrowing any money from the rich people. The rich people say, well, I have so many extra money, I don't have place. Please borrow, please, right? So they will back you. So they want to lend money. So then you don't care about the consequences, whether they can pay back or not. So lending is a big problem. And then the U.S. push for export. Okay, U.S. say, I want to improve my economy by exporting, but some of the third world country cannot afford to buy my stuff. So why don't you borrow some money so you can consume my products? That's so good for the United States, huh? I don't think they care about the third world. They say, well, why can't you buy American-made product? I don't have money. Oh, I loan you some money so you can buy my product, help my workers. But you are in debt. Okay, so that's a big problem. And then the third one is more interesting. The third world leader said, hey, I have a lot of resources, but I want to get rich myself. I want to put them into liquid. 变成什么？这叫什么？中文叫什么？什么？可以流动的资产啊？中文叫什么 ？liquidity 中文，我一下啊。流动性的 ，OK。So they borrow the money and then just convert those, change those money to put them in their private banks, because. So what if I am a third world dictator? Right? Underneath my government or my land, I have a lot of uranium. I said, I'm rich with all the uranium, but hey, exporting of uranium is under strict control. So I'd rather borrow money so I can turn the asset into liquidity. And also, why people borrow in Taiwan? Say, it's okay, buy a house right now. How much you're going to pay right now? Let's say in Taipei, a apartment make a median money. Let's say $15 million, 好吗？1500万，台北市啊，一个公寓差不多。Okay, so you said, well, you're going to borrow how much money? 80%. How much? 12 million, right? So the down payment is $3 million, and then you borrow $12 million. And then every month you're going to pay, let's say, $80,000. Huh? 我不知道是多少 maybe $60,000. Okay, let's say $60,000. You say, well, that's a lot. People say, don't worry, we will have inflation, and then 5 years later, this house is going to worth how much? Let's say, $30 million. 变成3000万. Okay, and your salary right now is what? $80,000, you pay $60,000, 你8万块薪水，6万块钱要付房，马上
通货膨胀，你薪水要涨好几倍的。Okay, so people say, well, that's fine because this is how much I borrow right now, right? If you have inflation, then what I borrow is so low, so they expect that. Now, I'm sorry, I have to tell you one thing, students. Ever since I came back to Taiwan, I don't think our salary has been adjusted. Okay. 我已经回台湾10几年了，好像薪水没有调整嘛。But before that, I know there was inflation, right? But in the past 15 years, not. Okay, and then somehow our real estate market has doubled or more than that. So anyway, so expecting for inflation is good, but what happened? Inflation never doesn't come. Because if you have inflation, the money you borrow. Okay, I'll tell you what my brother, when I remember, this is about 40 years ago, I think, when my brother bought the first home. How much does it cost? 我想是20多万吧。Okay, and he borrowed some 20万. Right, I think a long time ago he paid off. Right, that's the reason in Taiwan we have a very high real estate market, but very low rental market. And you would say, wait a second, this big apartment costs 30 million, 3000万的公寓，租金多少？5万台币一个月。So hey, this is something, even less than you can earn from your bank, the interest. Now why don't you sell it? You know why? Because when they bought that 30 million apartment, they pay only 8 million. So they think $50,000 is okay. 因为他们买的时候只有花了800万，不是花3000万买的。So they think it's still worthwhile to get. And if they sold it, then they can never get it back. So that's why. Okay, so high inflation, it's not happening. That the third world really get hurt from that. Okay, now Africa continue to have crisis, and people say why? Both creditors and debtors have problems. Creditors, they never think about forgiving debts. So why do you have to borrow money? I need to borrow money to pay back my debts. Does that make sense? 你们有这样的朋友吗？说，我跟你借钱，为什么要借钱？我要还别人钱。好像有哦。Okay. So why don't you forgive the debt so that someone can start off, afresh? In Taiwan, we don't have this, but in other countries, United States, they have a bankruptcy law. You can, if you decide you can get bankrupt, then after 7 years or 11 years, I don't remember, you can re-establish your credit, which means in the next 7 years or 11 years, you cannot borrow any money. But you can start afresh. And once you declare bankrupt, nobody can go after you or your friends or your family members. 台湾要不要介绍一下这个引进这个破产法？一破产了，没有人可以追你了。Okay, means you can always start it afresh. So why don't we apply to the international level, allowing some country to say, hey, I'm bankrupt, right? Let me start afresh. Without the burden of debt, maybe I can do something positive. Because if every day what I do is to service the debt, I can never come out of this trap. Okay? But the debtors have problem as well because they never have a common stance. Means they don't know how to unite together, and becoming a single voice. So and also this prescription, okay, of increasing exports. They already have not very good term of trade, and you expect them to go through the exports to accumulate foreign exchange and to pay off the debts. That's very difficult. So third world, you have to think of them as just like the third world within a country, how are you going to help them? Then the question is, does the first world have the responsibility to not just loan money, but provide assistance? Aid is different from loan. Okay, aid is just giving back money. If you have exploited them before, don't you think you should do that? 就好像台湾有些人炒地皮，把一些穷人的地都炒掉了，是不是也应该给他们一点东西 ？Okay, so the same thing. Okay, I'll send you the next chapter and then also the homework as well.